Oh, this is not where I had it. What? Whoops. Wait a minute. This is not it. Why is this in this screen? What the heck are we on? Nope. Here you go. All right. Okay, who's Tammy Cowins? Who's Tammy Cowins?
Oh snap, things going on.
I'm glad to get crack money or anyone.
I thought that was a real thing, yeah. Oh my gosh, what's with this intro?
I don't know if you heard it.
Do you think Vlad would like trick me? Is Vlad a good source of information?
Story about Tammy Cowins.
I have.
Okay.
You can explain it.
I'm explaining the story. Tammy Cowins is now the executive producer of the BMF show, the BMF Star Show.
I think Vlad does copyright. I ain't gonna lie. I get sure my thing's right. Very good.
She has Meech rights. I was doing this show, so when T was locked up, T asked me to call her. I blindly called her. And she just immediately went off on me. Like, what the hell? You know, I'm on probation. By this time, it's like 2014, 13, 14. And the next day after that conversation, I get called down.
Man, I don't want to get copyright. I know Vlad copyrights. I've heard about it. See this one.
I agree. It's unfortunate, right? It really is, but I agree. So, you know, we'll just let be told when the story gets told. And I'm going to stick to the truth and keep it pushing, right? I agree. It's unfortunate.
Tammy Cowins.
The connection. So to answer 50 Cent's question, who is Tammy Cowins? Well, you know who Tammy Cowins is. Tammy Cowins is the woman that hooked up the deal with you for the TV show. So you are very well acquainted with Tammy Cowins. And this whole thing might be kind of a 50 Cent. I mean, he may be a little mad, but it's also yet another marketing thing. I think we're really witnessing the end, the dissolution of, I mean, not crime, but like this idea of like, oh, there's a secret underworld that, and they don't talk, and you know, the internet's full of ex-mafia guys talking, and of course, black criminality and major black criminals are. Well, I'm one of the first ones that was doing stuff with them in Detroit and New York, and that's become very widespread. And for those that want to act like, oh, that's so shocking, and why are they doing that? Listen, better they do that than be criminals, right? I mean, if you're a guy who's willing to risk your freedom, your life, put poison in the community, if you see it that way, part of the reason why they like gangsters, they like the excitement. They like being in the hour video that he sent me. Like, watch this, and he, just like a help rapper video, but he had all the stuff from his case. And anyways, there's this girl in the middle of it, and she's
We've seen this video a little bit. I don't think so.
but she's been in cases in like Colorado, Arizona, or banging her frame. Maybe she.
Let's go this one.
I agree. It's unfortunate, right? It really is, but I agree. So, we'll just let it be told when the story gets told. I'm only going to stick to the truth and keep it pushing, right?
That's all it is. She sounds so normal and professional. That was Tammy Cowins on the phone with 50 Cent. He leaked the call. So you heard what she said. Just going to tell the truth and let it all come out. Now, I've said in my other videos that you read the paperwork. Meech, Tammy, Cuffy, and Fidel Suarez were conspiring to do a drug deal. The agent overheard on Tammy's phone because she's laid up with him. She was working a million different angles, trying to sell the BMF story. She was getting paid by the DEA to get money seized in multiple states. That's how she was making her living. Big Beach just was just one of the dope men that she was visiting in prison. And
Do you guys think that she got mad because maybe Big Meech came out of jail and he wasn't messing with her anymore? You know how some females be getting so mad at you because, they hold you down in jail and all that, but then you get out of jail and you don't mess with them anymore? It's bogus to say it, but, what's that saying? There's nothing more hurtful than a woman's something. I forgot what it's called. But yeah, that could be vengeful. And they will link up with your ops just to get back at you and get even. I ain't gonna lie,
it just went sideways. Now, you have 50% of all prison inmates are functionally illiterate. So I don't know why the prison rules of what the paperwork says are supposed to apply out here. You guys are becoming crazy with this internet stuff of letting people that can't keep themselves out of prison tell you what you're supposed to think about someone else's criminal paperwork, and that you shouldn't like them, or so it's kind of weird. And you worship Big Meech just so you can hate him. That's the celebrity culture of today. That's the sickness and moral decay. The kind of celebrities people like are people that, on the one hand, get all this adoration and attention, but it's like everyone's waiting. You don't love them like you love a family member or something. It's like how a gang member loves another gang member. We're going to give you all the attention and have various GD leaders, part of the hate committee, which was a group of enforcers from different states in the South at this big house. So
sometimes this guy talks a lot. But sometimes we getting some jewels, but
he's certainly benefited.
He's got to find them.
So people are going to use their names and stories to make money for themselves. That's the natural order of things. Now, a new wrinkle is that, well, it's not really. What is it? You put your name next to the king's name.
I want to know who's this Tammy girl.
So the answer.
Who is Tammy?
The story. Tammy Cowins is now the executive producer of the BMF show, the BMF Star Show. She has Meech rights. I blindly called her, and she just immediately went off on me. Like, what the hell? I'm on probation. By this time, it's like 13, 14. And just because you've been a government informant since 2008, you have the right to tell them.
We may have to see the BMF documentary. I ain't gonna lie to you, yo. 11 years ago.
Alright, I don't know how to say it, but I got this motherfucking stuff like a motherfucking baked potato.
Do what you gotta do. Get out of the real breathe.
What up,
Real humble got me fucked over.
We really living the life that you niggas is rapping about. That's another thing I'm gonna tell you, nigga. We living this shit for real, nigga. I'm talking about the $1 million joints, man, from state to state, man. We really doing it. And ask a nigga, if you don't believe me, ask a nigga that you know, that you can respect the word that they give you.
The year was 2000, and hip-hop was on the rise, steadily moving to the forefront of American pop culture. Crews and companies were emerging everywhere. Stars were being born every day. No alarm bells rang when an obscure but very well-funded entertainment company named Black Mafia Family entered the public eye. They were opulent, they were excessive. Known for arriving in lavish motorcade, congregating in droves, and buying out the bars and elite clubs in every major American city. But that was the culture. That was the business. By 2005, their brand had taken hold. BMF was regularly associated with A-list hip-hop acts such as Young Jeezy, Slim Thug, and Fabulous. At their high
Oh, I didn't know Fabulous was BMF. What?
watermark, billboards that read "The world is BMF's" could be seen throughout major American cities, seemingly a testament to their success in the entertainment industry. But by the end of 2005, a sinister shadow was cast.
Tonight, 2 local men are in custody in connection with a major drug investigation. More than 200 pounds of cocaine, 100 pounds of marijuana, and as much as $1.5 million in cash were allegedly found at his home in California.
Agents say in this whole operation they see 6 kilos of cocaine.
You know, I understand, like, the you know, when the hustlers, they keep that stuff in their house. Like, I just don't get it. The number one spot you guys gotta get raided, it's in your house. You know, number one spot. Why would you keep all the weight in your house? I never got that. You know,
80 pounds of marijuana and seized more than $1 million in cash and in assets. We expect to learn more about this operation in the coming days.
After years of covert law enforcement investigations, it was revealed that BMF was actually a cold, calculated criminal enterprise, hiding behind a very public disguise. Over the course of 15 years, the crew had made over $270 million in trafficking cocaine around the country. As the investigation unfolded, over 150 members of BMF were indicted, and the Black Mafia family was named one of the largest domestic.
how much do you think they made in their career? Because right now, 50 Cent was saying that, well, Little Meech said that his dad was with Rick Ross because he needed some bread. But if he was employing 160 people, he must have a lot of money left over, no?
Drug distribution organizations in American history.
If you go out on the streets of Atlanta today, every street corner's got a guy that wants to commit a crime. Every street corner's got a guy that thinks he's the best drug dealer out there. But you do have to ask yourself, was there something interesting or different about these guys? These are the guys that were willing to go one step further. They were the guys that were willing to innovate one step more than the next guy was. Incredibly self-confident, strong-willed, and willing to think outside the box. In order to run a big operation the kind that BMF did, you've got to be a planner, you got to be a thinker, you got to be someone who can imagine a future, where your business is growing and where your reach is growing. And most of the guys that you talk to on the streets, they're interested in getting their money today, right then, right there. And these guys, I think, they were willing to think beyond that. They wanted something bigger for themselves.
You have these 2 brothers who came from Detroit, came from nothing, and built literally a $270 million, by conservative estimates, organization, employing.
What? Why do I always get restricted on TikTok, yo? I can't watch no documentary and react to it because I'm always getting strike for some reason. How's that an original? I'm like reacting to it, brother.
500 people. Everybody who's described it to me, who's worked on it, has called it the biggest case they've ever worked on.
The whole idea of a black mafia family was like a ghost story. You know, the cops told it like you would tell it to your kids. There was no presence. You didn't see them anywhere.
You know what? Like BMF, like they weren't violent at all. Like they were just about getting their money and partying. You know.
But if you
but the only reason I'm watching this documentary is so we can see who Tammy Cowins is. Like I want to know what she did in the organization.
People on the street, you mentioned BMF.
Hey guys, don't forget to subscribe. Appreciate y'all.
They wouldn't talk about it. So it was very real to the people who were selling drugs and doing drugs, but to the rest of us, we had no proof that existed.
Truthfully, a lot of stuff that sounded like urban legend, it sounded like too big and too much to be true. But that they were large-scale cocaine distributors moving hundreds and thousands of kilograms of cocaine in multiple states around the country from coast to coast and essentially living...
Wait, they're from the East and West Coast too? I thought it was just from the East Coast. Atlanta.
Like celebrities or better than celebrities.
They were taunting us. You know, it was probably no secret to them that we were after them. They just thought they were untouchable. They were far enough removed that...
I'm gonna get off TikTok because TikTok be tweaking.
Nothing was going to happen to them.
One of the investigators said, you know, all cocaine is 3 generations away from BMF.
One part entertainment company, one part street crew, Black Mafia family was an urban dream come true. The combination was so seductive and so lucrative that during their peak, BMF had 400 people on their payroll.
It's cross-branding, right? You got
Who was in BMF? Just Young Jeezy? Fabulous, right? I think that's what they said.
music, and you've got the product, and you've got the women, and you've got the the image. All these things are kind of playing off one another. If you're talking about music, if you're talking about the drug trade in those days, everything was connected with BMF. That name just kept coming up over and over again. The mystique just built over and over again.
It took a lot of ability and leadership skills to hold together all the moving parts that they had going on, just like it does in any corporation or business.
They structured it like an organization where they have like their top level, the CEO,
Do you think they weren't so loud that we got away with it? Because I think their downfall was that Meech was just posting BMF is the world and stuff like that. Of course, the cops are gonna be like, "Who's BMF?"
COO, CFO.
Then you had your middle managers who managed.
It's kind of like American Gangster. I don't know if you guys ever seen that movie, American Gangster, where he was really super low key. The cops didn't even know who he was until he went to like a boxing event. And in the boxing event, he had what was that? Like a guinea pig coat, and they were like, "Whoa, this is like $100,000 coat," and that's how they start investigating him.
Each one of the different cities in the different states, and then you had your logistics, your couriers. They were a very good crew as far as a drug organization.
They were really, really organized. They had a lot of people working for them. They had a lot of people eating off them.
There's the caricature and the stereotype of what a gang leader is or what a drug lord is. It's New Jack City, it's Scarface, but the reality of it is you get success through planning, through patience. And I think those guys, they had a much more sophisticated view of what this was about. They didn't say, "I'm the drug lord and I'm going to act like a drug lord." They were focused on making money.
At the top of the organization stood 2 brothers. Demetrius Flannery, or Big Meech, was the face of the organization.
Did they have different dads? Because one is really light skinned, the other one's really dark.
The press-friendly CEO.
Demetrius tended to be more flamboyant. He was more public. He had a bigger-than-life persona, and he liked portraying that.
Terry, Southwest T, was the younger brother and had no interest in the attention. Seldom seen, he was the architect of the operation, the planner, the mastermind.
Terry was understated, very protective, and very shrewd.
Terry, on the other hand, was a businessman, was every bit as influential and competent as Demetrius, but tended to like to try to fly under the radar and stay low-key and low-profile a little more.
Terry was the quiet one. Terry was the brains behind it. He enjoyed his lifestyle.
He ran it more like a business than maybe a family.
Hey, happy holidays, y'all, man. What's up, guys? Hey, man, I'm trying to get everything together before next month kick in, man. And I want to get your apartment cleaned out. I was just coming up with a plan, but I need you.
Oh, Terry was the one that was low key, but he was always on the phone. I think that's what they caught him, because he was always like on the phone stuff.
I need you. I don't like fucking with Arnold. I'm gonna have to go with Arnold choice, bro. I don't got a number on him, I'm gonna tell the car too. That's what you fucking.
Wiretap 2004. You know, with wiretaps, I just recently found out that if you don't say nothing incriminating for the first 30 seconds, they can't use the wiretap. Like I was talking to one of my cop friends, and I was like, "What? I didn't know that." So anything after, they can still keep listening after 30 seconds, but the first 30 seconds are the ones that count. If you don't say nothing incriminating for the first 30 seconds, the rest of the recording is unavailable. You can't use it for court. I mean, they can still hear it, and they can hear where you drop is, but they can't present that like if the judge be like, "Where'd you get that information?" "Oh, the wiretap." But you can't bring it to court. Like, they can't listen to it. I mean, they can still hang around and hear your call, but can't use it for court.
Oh, okay then. I'll do that. Quit doing what you want. Go do what I tell you to do. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right.
Everybody moved like brothers, and then everybody from different places: Milwaukee, St. Louis, Detroit, Texas, Atlanta, Cali. You know what I'm saying? Florida. We got people from everywhere, and everybody move as one. Everybody is prospering in some kind of way, in their own way. Every man plays his own role, and everything starts with the leader. I'm a good leader, so I got good people that follow. You know what I'm saying? It's simple.
Detroit what? Detroit what? I've been to Detroit. I was just there maybe half a year ago. And I was on 8 Mile Road. And then, you know how most cities, they would like, you know, when there's a hole in the floor, they would just like put more concrete or whatever to fill it up. I went through this street and it was all metal platings everywhere. Like the whole street was covered in metal platings. I was like, what? This is ghetto, yo. And I'm from Chicago, you know. My mom lives in the South Side. I grew up in Chicago, so I thought I knew ghetto. But I went to Detroit, and I was like, "Whoa, this is some other level." I ain't gonna lie, like Chicago, Detroit, and Chicago and Detroit had different types of like ghetto. And like I said, I grew up in the hood, so. But when I saw that the city, instead of them filling the holes, they would just put metal plates to cover the whole street. I was like, what? That threw me for a loop, you know? I was like, what the heck?
The Black Mafia family was an ambition 20 years in the making, arising from the hard streets of Detroit. Meech and Terry got into the drug game for one simple reason. They no longer wanted to be poor. By the late 80s, Meech and Terry led a small drug ring, peddling crack cocaine at local high schools.
And that's not to say that everyone who lives in these neighborhoods buys into a criminal lifestyle. But in a lot of these neighborhoods where money's scarce, opportunity's scarce, most of those people, if you called them on it and said, how can you allow this stuff to happen right outside of your home? Most of them would turn around and say to you, well, how can you criticize me for this when I have nothing?
Terry and Demetrius Flannery grew up in the hardscrabble area of southwest Detroit, right up against the cities of Ecorse and River Rouge. Very blue-collar, tough area. And they grew up on a dead-end street, 1555 South Edgell, a gray, nondescript home at the end of the street.
You know, Meech had told me the gas would get turned off in the winter, they'd have no heat in it. And he watched his parents who worked have to struggle through that. I mean, he told me straight up, he's like, yeah, a job at McDonald's wasn't going to cut it. I learned that. There was another route for me.
Well, that's true, because when I started working in 2007 or 8, I was making $7.25 an hour. That was like my first job, you know, and I was like, what, 16? Then and Illinois had like Chicago had like a higher wage minimum than Detroit at think Detroit was still like $5 an hour. That's crazy.
He's very unapologetic about that.
You get the Flannerys back in the 80s, you get a couple guys who are kind of independent traffickers out there moving kilos and making a buck, but they don't have this monstrous organization. And
I want to see where Tammy Cowins comes out.
Charismatic as they are in 2000.
You have reached the Sprint voice mailbox of 6331. To leave a voice message, press 1, or just wait for the...
White boys. SOS, you left me in the jungle, man. This is jungle out here, man.
If you are satisfied with your message...
I wonder how much money they actually made in their whole career, like hustling. Because they were hustling for like, what, more than 5 years, right? 6 years? They must have made like at least 100 M's. But did the government confiscate anything?
The Flannery brothers were on DEAs and IRSs and other law enforcement agencies.
The IRS is always gonna be the IRS I think the IRS is the most powerful thing, you know, because that's how they got the guy from Chicago. What's it called? Oh my gosh, Airhead. The mobster in Chicago, bro. I can't believe I'm from Chicago and I didn't even know. That's how they got him through the IRS.
Radar for quite some time.
The Detroit DEA, headed by case agent Bob Bell, had been investigating another drug trafficking crew called the Puritan Avenue Boys.
In fact, Demetrius Flannery was arrested along with a Colombian in Detroit back in 1994. However, there wasn't enough evidence to charge him. So there was information out there for years about the legend and the prowess of the Flannery brothers. They had become too big and too full.
That's why now that 50 Cent and him are beefing, I'm like in between the middle if he actually tricked, third party tricked. I think that third party snitch. I think that's what Wack 100 said. Because these guys were being real for so long, like, and he was almost out. That was 2017 when he like third party snitch, you know. I don't think he would do that, but who knows? That's why I'm seeing the documentary right now because I want to see where Tammy comes in, you know, like where she came from, like what was he in charge of? Detroit, what?
In a complex case like BMF and tracking down the two brothers, there were numerous vital steps that the DEA took that enabled them to put together a case that stands close to 10 years and all the efforts of...
See, the DEA let them rock out for 10 years. They must at least have made 100 M's. At least 100 M's, if not more.
Numerous branches of local and federal law enforcement.
And it was a logistical nightmare, and the only way we were successful was by working together with our DEA counterparts, IRS counterparts, and other law enforcement counterparts all over.
The IRS, I'm telling you.
Nationwide investigations. This is, the biggest one I've ever been involved with.
And we built that relationship up, built up trust, and we shared information seamlessly.
My job is...
You mean you built up snitches, not trust, snitches.
Putting pieces of a puzzle together.
A huge organization that's stretched across the whole United States. You just won't put that together in one day. It takes a lot of time, a lot of man-hour, a lot of cooperation with all the federal agencies and local PDs.
If at any time any law enforcement wanted to take down their part of the case, this case would not have ripened to its fullest extent.
With the constant threat of law enforcement, snitching, and violence, Meech and Terry needed unwavering loyalty from their crew. Meech's natural generosity was the greatest reinforcement.
It don't make no difference if you the maid or if you the motherfucking bodyguard. Everybody get extras around here, fresh benefits. I'm dropping this tonight. It's gonna be like, oh, who's that? That's Blue with the GT Cool.
Anything that you can do to engender loyalty is going to work in your favor. Companies and corporations do it through incentive programs and bonusing. In the criminal underworld, people do it through relationships.
Hello? Going out there. Now just call and let you know, man, pulling over in my truck for about 2-3 hours now, man. That's crazy, but that's the type of shit they do.
And like I said, like I was saying earlier, my friend is a cop. I just recently found out that when you're in a wiretap, only the first 30 seconds count to be admissible for court. If you don't say nothing incriminating for the first 30 seconds, They cannot use that for court. I mean, they could still keep hearing the conversation, but they cannot use that for court. You know, just thrown out there. The first 30 seconds is what counts. That's admissible for court, but after that,
they ain't find nothing in the truck. They ain't said shit about the tinted windows, but they claim that they smell marijuana in my truck, and I don't even smoke in my truck. That's terrible. That's terrible. But there ain't nothing in there, so they feel like dickheads. No, what I'm saying is, they didn't smell no weed in there. I do not smoke in that truck at all, B. It's what I'm saying, period.
somebody snitch on you.
Yeah, they just want to say it. They just probably want to see all on it. Because the truck new and the car, all that shit was new for it. You know what I mean? It's probably ain't none of that shit in their name. That's why they do all that shit. Yeah, they talking crazy, ain't they? They talking crazy.
Somebody snitch. Hell yeah.
I'm not with you in the face.
If you got a robbing ass boss, then you're gonna be a robbing ass Scrooge. If you got a real boss who know how to sacrifice and take the bad along with the good and show us screw up, know how to be men, then that's what you get. Everybody shining like new money. Ain't nobody.
That's true though, because as long as you're treating your people good, they're gonna be treating you good. You know, they're gonna be more responsible. That's anywhere though.
Loyalty amongst the police members by actually putting family members of defendants, organization members on a stipend. In fact, one recorded call, Terry was talking to a defendant who was getting ready to go in for to serve his sentence. Terry offered to pay Benjamin Johnson's wife about $6,000 a month while he was away. $72,000 a year tax-free isn't bad to get by on. They really produce reward rather than through.
See, that's why I think that's why they had a good run for 10 years, because even they got locked up, they took care of their people. $6,000 a month, you know, tax-free, like you said. You know, because when you get locked up, most people snitch because you can't take care of your family. So you know what? I gotta be out as soon as I can. But if the person you're working for is taking care of your family, you're just gonna sit down and take it, because otherwise, you know, your family's getting taken care of. You know, that's out of your mind. You just gotta sit down and hold it down for a while.
The threat of punishment. Their organization gave notoriety to people who thought they were part of something exciting and important.
They were very generous with those around them. They provided a lifestyle. A lot of times Hispanic clubs, there were a lot of women around. You know, a lot of these guys on the lower level, when they were part of this particular group, BMF, they had status when they walked through the door.
In BMF, if there wasn't a written code, there was definitely a spoken. They were all brothers. They all moved together. Meech preached that jealousy, envy, or the distraction.
Little shout out if you guys could subscribe to the channel, appreciate it.
Women among the crew members was not welcome at all.
We don't fall out over no girls. We hit them all. They hit my hoes, I hit they hoes. The ones that don't want to be shared, then that's your own personal one. Other than that, we ain't falling out over no hoes.
From the onset, Meech and Terry proved to be resourceful business partners capable of capitalizing on every opportunity. When Terry was younger, he was a bystander to a shootout, and his right eye was grazed by a stray bullet. Doctors botched the surgery, and he was awarded a cash settlement, so he used that money to establish a legitimate sedan service in Detroit. The sedan service not only provided a legitimate front to watch the drug money, it provided a discreet method to transport large quantities of drugs.
But that actually became sort of the skeleton of a much more advanced fleet of vehicles that would eventually move thousands of kilos of cocaine across the country.
Yeah. Hey, did the black car just do it?
That's a good idea though, I ain't gonna lie.
No, the black car, no, it's not. But the gray one left yesterday. Alright, that's good. As we want to go home, we didn't want to give him the black car when he gets there. He said he better go home. He got things he got to take care of. Alright. Go home. I'll take care.
Prior to the PA Boys' takedown, law enforcement had perceived the brothers as mid-level traffickers, small-time players at a much larger stage.
In the mid-90s, these guys are at times delivering $200,000-$300,000 to individuals who are...
Wait, when did they get arrested? 2004 or 5? Because he's saying that they already knew about them in the 90s. So they let them rock on over 10 years. That's crazy. Like that, I feel like the feds sometimes don't care what you do until they need something from you, or you really mess up. You know, like you hurt somebody, but you know,
Or sending that money to down to St. Louis and on to Colombian sources. That's who they are.
But as the DEA started to build contacts and sources, an entirely new image was coming to light.
What happened in December of 03, early 04, Bob Bell, the other DEA agents, they start contacting their sources, trying to get as much information as they can on the Flannery brothers. Now they start hearing stories about Terry's got a mansion out in California, Meech has got places down in Atlanta, they're driving all his high-end vehicles. That's what you hear from sources.
For years, Terry and Demetrius Flannery attempted to live like ghosts. Going back probably 10 years worth of income tax return records, there were no records of them ever having filed. Along with that, they each had about at least 5 or 6 aliases and had that many different fictitious driver's licenses.
So how do you buy the homes? Through LLCs? I'm assuming, right?
In several different states.
Because nothing's on their name.
From the mid-90s to early 2000, Meech and Terry went from a $1 million a year business to a $1 million a week business. The only way to achieve that kind of growth in the drug trade is to increase the supply of your product. And that usually means cutting out middlemen and getting closer to the source.
So you look at the industry with the drugs and how the movement of drugs come here in the States, the American blacks don't really control that trade.
Demetrius Flannery went out to California. He just went out there looking for sources. He hooked up with one of the co-defendants, Wayne Joyner, California guy who knew some Mexicans.
Meech and Terry may never have risen above middle-class dealers had they not met Wayne Joyner.
He became one of the Flannery brothers' key people. Wayne Joyner was a drug trafficker from California who had good connections. He knew guys who could do houses, he knew the car guys, he knew the Mexicans.
Big Meech. Why is that the Mexican family?
The Colombians are the world's major producers of cocaine and were back in the 80s and 90s. But when the DEA started to really hammer the cartel's transportation through the United States in the Caribbean and Florida, then the Mexican trafficking routes became more important, and they started paying the Mexican traffickers to take the cocaine into the United States through Mexico. Eventually, the Mexican cartels took over all the transporting of the cocaine and getting it into the United States, about 90% of all the cocaine.
Securing the Mexican source provided Meech and Terry with almost an unlimited supply of uncut cocaine for a substantially lower price than they could get from any U.S. distributors.
They were purchasing at the time for $15.5 per kilo. And the BMF organization was moving at least 600 kilos a month.
This allowed them to literally corner the market.
15.5 times 600.
Not every even top level drug dealer in a major city ever gets to that point. You have to have something special to get the trust of the cartel.
Imagine the logistics and the trust, you know? It's crazy.
They expanded their enterprise, establishing hubs in 11 states to unload their product. Terry moved to California to receive the bulk shipments, and Meech moved to Atlanta, which was an ideal distribution hub for all of Eastern America.
There's about 10 different highway routes that you can take out of the city to get out of here. And that route going from Florida all the way up through to New York, Philadelphia, and Boston, you got to go through Atlanta to get to those places. It's just physically, it's a great place to be. And also, it's a big enough city and already has enough of a drug culture of its own to provide cover for those people who are moving through the city itself.
Atlanta was definitely becoming a strategic location for the drug trade, but the culture attracted Meech too. By the late 90s, Atlanta had been...
So when they met that plug, they moved from Detroit, right? And then one went to Cali and the other one went to Atlanta. So where does Tammy come through?
become a hotbed for activity for the hip-hop industry. Rappers were playing the streets with mixtapes, and famed producers like Jermaine Dupri, Outkast, Goody Mob, and Ludacris were attracting national attention. Hip-hop as a business has two very distinct worlds, the streets and the boardroom. As it became mainstream, hip-hop started generating more money than anyone expected. With the connection to the streets comes the element of the criminal underworld. There is no secret that hip-hop record labels were being started with drug money. Jay-Z, for example, has always been honest about his previous life and how he left paper bags filled with cash for radio DJs. Meech, too, was captivated with the allure of the music industry, and as he gained more money and power through his ever-expanding drug empire, he set his sights on conquering a new frontier. When the Detroit DEA decided to investigate the Black Mafia family, they knew the organization was going to be tough to penetrate.
It was such a tight-knit group. There was no way to get somebody in. We could make buys from the underlings, but as far as getting somebody into the organization itself, it wasn't going to happen.
But early on, Bob Bell and his team got a lucky break. Using confidential informants enabled the investigation. They were able to identify a phone number for a...
There's always somebody who gets snatched up and starts tricking. It's always
BMF manager named Benjamin Johnson. Shortly after, they successfully got a court-ordered wiretap to listen in on his phone calls. After only a few short weeks, the Detroit DEA struck gold.
A couple of weeks into the wiretap, we intercepted a call. We didn't have the person's name, but we immediately knew that it was Terry Flannery by his commanding voice and Benjamin Johnson's respect and deference for Terry.
What I do? Fly to Florida and drive this car back to Detroit, so. Okay, when you need me to do that, sir? Soon as possible. Okay, that's not fly to white boy. Yes, sir. You gotta drive this car like you got some sense, because a hurricane gonna come that way. Okay.
We immediately knew we had Terry and knew we had an important phone to target for the next wiretap.
Getting a wire on Terry's phone was the turning point in the DEA's investigation. They had finally infiltrated the inner sanctum. For Meech and Terry to successfully run a nationwide trafficking organization, they needed to establish a protective infrastructure. They set up stash houses in key hub cities, always in other people's names, and usually in mansions in upper-class neighborhoods.
There is something that you...
Yeah, I heard Mark Jones. Yeah, I heard about that through WAC 100. He said that he third-party snitch. But I'm just trying to see where that Tammy girl started like messing with them, you know? That's why we're watching the documentary right now. See what
you get for living in those kinds of neighborhoods. And one of them is...
But I heard that the reason the third-party snitching, because Meech was supposed to come home in 2017. Because Tammy had done a deal with the feds. But then what messed up the deal was that Tammy started sleeping with the Fed. And then so the whole... Somehow the prosecutors found out, and then the whole deal like went to crap. That's what I heard. But you know, the documentary is gonna be fired. I ain't gonna lie.
It's a safe place, not just in terms of keeping it away from the police, but in terms of keeping it away from other offenders. Somebody knows that you got $9 million worth of drugs in your house. They're gonna come looking for it.
The various stash houses had nicknames. There was the Elevator, the Gate, the White House. And then there was the infamous Space Mountain, the modern multi-million-dollar enclave that had a perfect wraparound driveway for limos to deliver 200 kilograms of cocaine, located in the heart of Buckhead, the wealthiest neighborhood in Atlanta.
Buckhead residents are snooty. They don't like outsiders, but how a large national black organization managed to, with the flash and the bling and the rims and the cars and the girls, how they managed to do this and nobody complained. In a neighborhood where they complain if your dog walks on your curb. Even the day we took everything down, we had more people on our backs about that. You know, we were making noise. But it was like, yeah, we made noise, but they never complained about him.
In charge of the stash house was J-Bo Brown, Meech's second in command.
J-Bo was really just kind of being the general manager of BMF. He would be like at the stash houses when the drugs would arrive. Like Meech would never be in the same room with drugs or anything like that. So it's almost like doing some of the dirty work that Meech really couldn't do or wouldn't do. So he was the guy who was really just running the ships for him.
Another innovation that the two brothers used, which was not all too uncommon, was sophisticated traps in their vehicles to hide the cocaine and the money as they moved city to city.
When you have cars like this and they want to build secret compartments, how does that work? You have people that sell jewelry for a living. They need to carry around their products. They need to carry around money. Sometimes they have weapons for their personal protection. It varies according to what you want to put into the vehicle. Basically, in a vehicle like this, you know, we could take this entire area. We could take that carpet and we can cut it. We can reattach it to a piece of aluminum and bolt that to a welded enclosure under the vehicle. Then we can make that piece pop open. We can make it motorized up. We can make it airtight. We can make it waterproof. We can make it however you want it, and it will look like there's nothing there. You can take this vehicle back to GM, and they wouldn't even know it was there. They had a Lincoln limo. They had about $1 million in a secret compartment, and no one was able to find this money until 2 years later.
Yeah, because when they're investigating in BMF, didn't they make that special task force? And they kept impounding the cars, but they could never find the money or the drugs.
They can be built that sophisticated?
Yeah. Every vehicle was a moving trap. They were amazing. I mean, I had to admire their ingenuity.
They had real strict rules about like nobody who's below this level of management can even know how to open the traps that they had installed in these cars to access the drugs. I mean, which would basically be like, okay, put the car in reverse, turn on defrost, hold a magnet up to the dash, and turn on the windshield wiper.
These traps were high tech.
Oh snap! That was like a whole code. What? Bro, I got bad memory. I wouldn't have memorized all that.
Very sophisticated, electronic, hydraulic. Some of them had vacuum pumps in them to try to overcome or thwart drug detecting canines. It would make it difficult.
We were able to seize a Hummer limo, and notwithstanding the best efforts of law enforcement to find the secret panels, we managed to miss it. I think a year or so later, the man who bought the limo managed to find $1 million in it.
Oh snap! That's a come up right there.
On a trip to LA in 1999, Meech's dream of breaking into the music industry became possible.
That's a come up right there.
Introduced to a young artist named Karima McKnight, who was rapping under the name Blue Da Vinci. They shared a common vision, and Meech took an immediate affection to the young artist. Shortly after, the two founded BMF Entertainment. For the entire lifespan of the record label, Blue Da Vinci was the only artist signed.
What we're focusing on right now is Blue Da Vinci.
I heard they invested so much money in Blue Da Vinci, he never blew up. That's crazy.
I believe that most labels take so much time and focus on so many artists that you can never get the realness out of the one artist because you're focusing on 10 or 20 artists. That's why all our independent focus is on what Blue Da Vinci gonna do. If he take off, then we take off. If he don't take off, then we don't want to take off. Simple.
The business that they chose to hide behind, to use as cover, was also an industry that was critical for improving their reputation and providing them with the social capital that they needed. It created loyalty, it created a mystique, it created interest, and it provided a fantastic cover for them. It was totally realistic. When you see these guys and say, well, they're part of the music industry, they look the part, they act the part, they understand the culture of the hip-hop lifestyle. It's not like they were trying to open up, a bunch of McDonald's or something like that.
Man, this BMF Entertainment thing is more than just a record label, production, some niggas doing music, or just the street nigga thing. This is really all about going state to state and linking up motherfuckers from the streets, man, from all over. No matter where you from, no matter what you look like, how fat you are, or whatever. Niggas that got a little money and a lot of sense, man, we looking for and start making some of these black dollars happen.
Was Young Jeezy signed to BMF? Because I remember he was with them a lot.
One of Big Meech's biggest self-proclaimed legacies was that he unified gangs from all over the country. Crips, Bloods, GDs, BPs. They all stood together underneath his black flag.
And we got all type of niggas around here. It's short niggas, tall niggas, bald niggas, light skin, dark skin, braids, dreads, fat, whatever you want. We do it all. We don't discriminate. Matter of fact, after you leave here, you end up getting your teeth on something and coming up with something better. You know what I'm saying? Like a new car, new house, maybe the kids get to go to school, private school, paid for, courtesy of the mom. You know what I'm saying? We pay. You know, that's simple. A lot of niggas don't like to spend their money. We love to spend our money. We can't take none of this shit with us.
This phenomenon is a testament to how BMF grew.
Most guys who want to establish a drug empire, they're going to go off of the stereotype of what you believe you have to do to get there. And part of that is the violence.
With daily images of cartel-related bloodshed being broadcast from the southern borders and gang violence running rampant in our own cities, we have an immediate prejudice that the drug trade goes hand in hand with violence. Meech and Terry took a different approach to extend their reach. Upon entering new territories, they presented themselves as businessmen, and through diplomacy, they created alliances with existing criminal entities.
And that's why I think the feds didn't mess with them for a long time, like over 10 years, like they said, because they weren't causing no drama. You know, they weren't doing no shootouts and doing nothing. You know, they were doing their business and just keeping it. You know what that's saying? It's better to know the devil you know. So, you know, it's a lot better than you take them out, a new crew comes in and they start wilding out. No, I'd rather have these guys. They just about their money.
They kept their eye on the ball. Because, you know, you get enough bodies laying around, and law enforcement attention is going to come your way probably faster than when there's not that type of activity.
In a way, that's what made them so successful, because they never engaged in a lot of violence, so that the attention was never drawn to them in the way that it might be to another group of people.
As much as Meech was a natural negotiator, the bottom line was probably the most persuasive element in BMF's success. With their vast supply, brothers offered kilos of coke for only 17 grand, $2,000 to $3,000 less than their competitors.
Uncle Duty, wrong phone. Huh? Wrong phone. What up, Jeff? What up? Hey, you need a new chip to the new phone? My new check? What's one? The last one I got?
The new chip. Which one's the phone that I get?
Oh, yeah, I still get it. No, he didn't give it to me. He said he couldn't get a hold of the dog or some bullshit, and I had to leave.
You got the old phone?
Yeah.
You got it on you?
Yeah, I ain't got no time on the day. He told me to burn out the sun.
Often, while we were intercepting Terry talking on a particular phone, he would be using push-to-talk phones in the background, having other conversations. So he had multiple phones going at any one time, and then of course had a reserve of phones for him and his organization members. So about the best thing we could.
Bro, I used to have my first phone. My first phone was a Nokia with a snake game.
Terry would transition from one phone to another to try to keep pace and spin to the next phone. And we successfully did that with about 3 of Terry's phones.
The DEA sat back and listened for 5 months as Terry laid out the foundations of their investigation.
It is from this monitoring that we're able to find out information about participants or co-conspirators.
That's what I don't get. That they were so smart, and Terry wanted to keep such a low-key profile. Why did they caught him so much in the wiretaps? They caught him so much like discussing business on the phone. Maybe he got overconfident or something. Maybe because they've done it for 10 years, you know?
We're also able to determine whether or not there is any drug activity taking place.
We were able to listen to Terry direct the driver to take some kilograms of coke down to Louisville, Kentucky for distribution. That aided us in conducting a traffic stop and a seizure of 10 kilos in that particular load vehicle.
This case could have ended with the wiretap on Terry's phone. The DEA had him directing a guy to take the dope down south. They intercepted that car, got the dope. There was a decision made, DEA, IRS, and with the blessings of the prosecutor's office.
Why is the IRS in that investigation, though? Are they, you know?
You know,
They want to get all that money. It's all about that money. They don't care about safety. It's all about the money.
Take it as far as we can go. You know, we're going to identify all the members of this organization. We're going to identify all the people who are helping them launder their money. And that's what happened.
Over the course of 5 months, the DEA compiled over 900 pages of transcripts from Terry's phone calls, but there was not one phone call between Terry and Meech.
Terry used to like to dilute and reconstitute his kilograms, stretching the number of kilograms to increase his profits, while Meech's theory was, don't sit on it, move it.
And he enjoyed a reputation of distributing very pure kilograms. So on the street, Terry's cocaine was referred to as Moet. Not bad champagne, but Meech is referred to as Cristal, top shelf champagne. Demetrius was on house arrest down in the Atlanta area. His underboss, Chad Brown, was going around talking to Terry's customers saying, Terry's dope is no good. He dilutes it, it's poor quality. You should be buying dope from Demetrius and our side. That upset Terry very much. So Terry took a group of individuals and confronted Chad Brown in a house that was full of girls, his friends, and embarrassed him, and was screaming and yelling, waving the gun around, accusing him of attacking Terry's livelihood. Demetrius believed that Terry should have had that conversation with him out of loyalty for his side of the organization. He said, Terry may be my brother, but we're done. And it probably was the
reason that we were unable to identify a phone for Demetrius and never successfully intercepted any of his phone calls.
I want to know that Tammy girl was already working with them at this time, you know?
We coming in at the top of the game. We got all the cars we want, all the houses we want, all the clothes we want, all the jewelry.
With Young Jeezy.
We don't need nothing else.
I put on.
By 2004, Meech had solidified himself as a public figure. He was actively sponsoring young rappers in and around Atlanta.
His father was a musician, surrounded himself with musicians. I think that he had a genuine love of the rap scene in Atlanta in particular, which was blowing up in a big way at the time, in large part thanks to his willingness to sort of sponsor rappers. He really did think that if he could get one big break on his record label, that he might be able to.
And this goes back to the 50 Cent thing, because right now, Rick Ross, the whole thing started because Rick Ross told him to come and show up for the car show. And I feel like Big Meech likes that intention, and he wasn't thinking thirdly that the beef 50 Cent has with Ross. So, and like Little Meech said on that tweet, he said, fuck Ross. He said, you know, he gave bread to my dad so he could pay his bills. But you got to think about this in long term. 50 Cent put your son on an acting career, put him in the show, multiple seasons, you know, getting discovered and all that. And I think he even paid for the lawyer when a Little Meech tried to steal that watch, the Rolex. Where was it Rolex? And tried to resell it, you know, and he got arrested for the $250K fraud. I think 50 Cent put a lawyer for him. So that's why Little Meech in that text, he said, I always got love for you, 50, and this and that. But Big Meech, he loves the attention, and then the car show, a whole bunch of artists are gonna be there. You know, I think Little Baby's gonna be there. So I feel like he's gonna be reliving all that. So he wasn't thinking thoroughly about the repercussions of chilling with Ross. But there's real beef between Ross and 50, and 50 has all loyalty for him. You know, I think one time he said 50 that if you're like by the fence, he's gonna throw you over the fence. He's not gonna fuck with you, you know. Like, you know, if you're dangling around the fence, he's just gonna throw you because you're sniffing around, you know. So I think that's what he did to Big Meech, you know, and he canceled everything. He even said this is the last season of BMF.
Stop with illegal stuff. Maybe that's not reality, but that's what he said.
Meech pumped excessive amounts of money into Blue's hip-hop career, believing that his financial backing could launch a young rapper into stardom. At a time when most record labels were faltering and budgets for music videos were being trimmed, Meech spent a little over $500,000 on a little-known track, We're Still Here.
You should have focused on Young Jeezy.
Instead of getting 5 artists, you gotta put 100,000 apiece into each one of those artists, and you're doing everything small. If you put the whole $1 million or $500,000 behind Louis Da Vinci, now you got a big project, it look big and everything more. But if you just put 100,000 between these 5 artists, and you got a cheap project, nobody may not recognize one of them.
Hey guys, if you guys do me a favor and like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, appreciate y'all.
Yo, BMF Entertainment in the house, guys. If y'all haven't seen it, you just don't know.
The hype seemed to have an impact. BMF's image, street credibility, and apparent success attracted many rising artists. Blue Da Vinci was seen in many music videos with Young Jeezy and Fabulous, and he was regularly collaborating with known acts including Jadakiss and Nelly.
Low key, I would have loved to have been in one of those parties. Man, that looks hella fun. I ain't gonna lie. That looks really fun out there. That if somebody live their life to the fullest, I think they do.
Young Blue Da Vinci, Young Jeezy, Baby D, and the rest of the motherfuckers that broke with the BMF Entertainment squad for nickels.
There was an
intercepted call between Terry Flannery and his sister. And Terry poured his heart out to his sister. He was very frustrated with Demetrius, very angry over their split. He was very concerned that Demetrius's flamboyant lifestyle was going to cause law enforcement to identify what they were doing and bring.
But that's funny because they got T on all the wiretaps. Yeah, Meech was like balling out and all that, but they never caught him in a wiretap. They only caught his brother.
Heat on the whole organization and bring him down. The irony of it was that Terry's calls were being intercepted by DEA.
How you doing today, son? I still feel like I'm on a tight cat. When you got pulled over, you gave me your real name? I gave him everything. You know what he gave me a problem about? That kid. What is it? About over there. About that other situation. They sent the people to the house about that. Yeah, because he went real crazy over that too. But he was mad because he couldn't stand them, and that's why he did that too. Alright, so I know what to do, man. Okay, thank you, sir.
About the same time, the Detroit DEA was developing their investigation on Terry's side of the organization. Bolton County prosecutor Rand Sahi was overhearing rumors of the mysterious Black Mafia family's presence in Atlanta.
The whole idea of a Black Mafia family is like a ghost story. And cops told, like you would tell to your kids, there was no presence. You didn't see them anymore. But if you asked people on the street, mention BMF, they wouldn't talk about it. So it was very real to the people who were selling drugs and doing drugs, but for the rest of us, we had no proof that that existed.
The Atlanta side of the investigation began on the night of September 7, 2003. Police were alerted to a shooting after an opposing crew targeted a BMF stash house for a robbery.
We had a case, it was a shooting, a home invasion, where the people who were in the home actually shot the invaders, moved everything out, dropped the invaders off at the hospital, where they left the key of coke.
Yo, that's wild. You go in there to get a lick and you're the ones that end up getting lit up. And they drop you off at the hospital. That's embarrassing.
Cleaning out their house. Their house had a large bank-type vault in it, and they claimed to be BMF, and that's where it started.
One of the men arrested at the house was one of Meech and Terry's key financial consultants.
It was Doc Marshall and Kenneth Harvey, the two defendants in that case.
Doc was very smart with numbers. He was really like called the CFO of BMF. He ran all kinds of spreadsheets and reports for both Meech and Terry.
Bill Marshall is the kind of guy that drug traffickers need.
He knew how to work the financial side of things and obtain loans on cars and homes and cover up the source and ownership of those items.
Without a guy like Bill Marshall, they cannot enjoy the fruits of their labor.
The incident was not the first time Doc Marshall had come up on law enforcement's radar.
He first came on our radar during a roundup on the Puritan Avenue investigation. We seized a BMW 760, $125,000 car. The vehicle had been obtained through Bill Marshall's business called Exquisite Empire, which is based out of Atlanta.
As police searched the crime scene, they found a key notebook that contained obvious drug records of the trafficking organization, including associates' names and phone numbers.
Bro, that's hella money though.
And straw buyer.
Look, 15,066, 5,3.
Identities.
That's hella money right there.
The shooting at Doc Marshall's house was Atlanta's first taste of the Black Mafia family, but it was not its last. Meech himself made headlines 2 months later for his involvement in a high-profile double homicide. On the night of November 12, 2004, Big Meech was treated in the ER for a gunshot wound to his buttocks. Earlier that night, there was a shootout outside of Club Chaos, a hot nightclub in Atlanta. One of the men killed at the club was P. Diddy's bodyguard, Anthony Wolf Jones.
Wolf was a well-known guy here in New York who was very much a street guy, and Wolf was one of these guys that you really would mess around with. You know, he had a very quick temper.
The story goes that Meech was hanging out with Jones's ex-girlfriend, and Jones would not have it.
An argument ensued, and then guns got drawn. And then Meech had his guy with him, and Wolf had his.
That's what I don't like when people crash up with females though. Like, cause the female, yeah, you get back, but you gotta go to jail, and then she's gonna get the next one, you know. So that all that was for nothing.
This guy with him, and ultimately Wolf and his guy lost.
Meech was initially arrested for the double homicide. The Atlanta Police Department conducted a search on a mansion they believed to be Meech's residence.
They get this Bel Air Lake house, the White House, which is a Flannery house. They go there looking for a gun that they believe Demetrius Flannery may have used in the shooting at the club down there.
Although the murder weapon was never found, a notebook similar to the one seized at Doc Marshall's house was recovered. The Atlanta investigation was heating up, but Meech's murder charges would soon be dropped. No witnesses would come forward, and as Jones was shot from behind, there was not enough evidence to maintain the charges.
It was a justified shoot. No matter how bad everybody wanted to get Meech, that was one where the evidence pointed to the fact that they were defending themselves. Jones stepped out of line.
Over the course of the next 3 years, the Black Mafia family's reputation in Atlanta grew more imposing and violent.
They were violent. They would walk into clubs and take over the club. They wanted your girlfriend, they'd take your girlfriend. They wanted your car, they'll take your car. There was not a damn thing you could do about it.
The gang's numbers swelled, and their ominous presence loomed throughout the city's nightclubs.
There were stories of people getting thrown off balconies of bars, punched in the face and kicked and stomped. That was the reality of BMF. You know, so for every grandmother whose grocery bill they paid for at Publix, there was 3 grandsons lying in the hospital somewhere with broken bones.
Atlanta,
but they just said that they were in a violent gang,
had become a battleground.
Earlier,
the violence seemed to swirl around BMF and its associates. Often it was impulsive and senseless, but at times the motives were far more menacing.
Gucci Mane? Oh, wait, the guy that broke into Gucci's house, he was part of BMF? Gucci was beefing with BMF? What? I knew John Jeezy was an affiliate, but wow, I didn't know that. Gucci a real one though, I ain't gonna lie. Gucci a real one. So come pick up your homie.
That'll stand you up. I got some shit that'll take your life in this motherfucker. Nigga, this that 357, nigga, that Trey Pound, nigga, Magnum, nigga. With a lot of gunpowder behind each shot. It's that shit that's gonna blow you about 4 feet back, nigga. I only got 6 of these shots. I only need 1.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't know Gucci was beefing with them.
As more and more attention was being brought upon the organization, Meech became openly defiant in believing his hip-hop company could blur the line between art and reality.
Probably no secret to them that we were after them. They thought they were untouchable. And they were taunting us.
Blue, man, this man is interfering with my business. You need to get down here and talk to this man. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to count this. I don't know why somebody let him in the room to see what's going on anyway, man.
In 2004, he even commissioned billboards in Atlanta claiming the world was BMF's, a throwback to Scarface's mantra.
The billboards was when it was enough was enough. That billboard was always a bone of contention with the district attorney himself. The fact that they could just be so out there. He was very determined, and so he took the handcuffs off of us.
Meech was put under constant surveillance, and an Atlanta-based task force was assigned to topple the family. They used similar strategies of the Detroit DEA and got a wiretap on a low-level dealer.
Once the wires were running, they were manned 24/7. I don't believe that we ever came off of them. And a lot of the agents, Chip Cook, Mike Hannon, these guys would come in when they weren't scheduled, just to go back through and review. They put the case together.
Their diligence paid off, and they were able to spin up several times, all the way up to a high-level BMF manager favored by Big Meech himself.
They would watch The Wire on HBO. And they would talk about it. we would sit there white-knuckled episodes where they would throw all the burners away, and they would talk about, good things these idiots down here don't know how to wiretap. Or, or they get paranoid and go, let's just text. Or they say, call me on this number. Talk about, kilos of cocaine, be like, hey, did you pick up the trees? I got 50 trees sitting in my car. They gave us a blueprint of what they were going to do every time.
That's crazy because, man, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like if I was like one of those top guys, I wouldn't be doing some of the dumbest thing ever, like talking on the phone and doing all this. It just seems like common sense, you know?
As the evidence mounted, the Atlanta task force conducted a series of takedowns on BMF associates and stash houses.
Meech had started to see ghosts. He was seeing cars and cops everywhere he went.
The heat was on Meech, and he knew it. He pulled his crew out of Atlanta and headed toward Miami.
He had a female assistant, Yogi. She disappeared first. Once she disappeared, we knew that this was on the way, so we decided to do it all the warrants. He was...
Well, was that Tammy? Is the girl that disappeared Tammy?
Ordering everybody out. People were scrambling. It was almost anticlimactic. There was no arrests. We hit all the houses and everybody was gone.
Meech had adhered to a strict doctrine. Never talk on the phone, never be around the drugs or the money, never put anything in your own name. He thought this code would insulate himself from law enforcement, but now he found himself on the run.
A lot of times, the dope never touches the hands of your top-level guys. So sometimes the only way to link them to that dope is to follow the money back to them.
The $1 million joints, man, from state to state, man, we really, really do it.
Large sums of cash. Where's that coming from?
We caught a break with some of our intelligence and financial records, and that changed people's perception from it's an urban legend to, wow, these guys are actually making millions and millions of dollars and essentially living better than celebrities.
I mean, flying around in Learjets, staying in presidential suites, living in multi-million-dollar homes in multiple states. Meech was down in Miami. There was a place he was renting there, this gated house, at like $30,000 a month.
Every place we stay at, LA, Atlanta, Detroit, we have homes, our own homes. We don't have to go in and rent shit. We got our own house, we got our own cars, we got our own hoes, we got our own clothes.
It was claimed that the funds were legitimately being generated through the entertainment branch of BMF.
You don't know all the money that Demetrius Flannery spent in the clubs, or on clothes, or on girls, but we know from the investigation it was documented. $1 million plus in cars purchased, $400,000 in cash for a car, $250,000 in cash for a car, $100,000 in cash for a car. Terry Flannery's house on Mulholland Drive, $600 and some thousand cash through bank accounts to, make that purchase. To put a number on it, I mean, million.
600,000 back then is probably like almost 2 million now in today's money, right? Because my house is worth like 300,000, and it doesn't even look anywhere like their houses look now.
business side of things with the music, that's seen as so legitimate that it provides cover for all of these expenditures that you're engaging in.
Meech had a fleet of luxury cars fit for a sultan. Rolls-Royce Phantoms, Bentley Continentals, Lamborghinis.
Apparently, he maybe had the only white Maybach in the United States. He had one shipped to himself from Saudi Arabia.
It wouldn't take an auditor very long to realize that there was way more money being spent than would be coming in through hip-hop.
For Meech's 36th birthday, he threw himself a $1 million star-studded party at the Atlanta nightclub compound, complete with champagne fountains and live exotic animals.
That's the part of him I really like, the Meech of the Jungle birthday party. I think those are the fun days of Meech, him telling Atlanta he was there.
And then came the strip clubs. BMF was notorious for their overindulgence in the nightlife.
I was in the clubs at the time when the BMF guys were here in New York, where they were spending tons of money. Girls would just pick them up. They would have a payday when BMF came to town.
The BMF would go out in droves. Each member would get his own $400 bottle of Cristal champagne.
The clubs either alternately loved it or hated it when they came in because they would sell out of champagne on the one hand, they'd have to deal with sort of the threat of violence.
You know y'all dudes out there talking about y'all making rain, man. We the originators of making it rain.
That's a message to everyone else. I've got so much money, I literally throw it up in the air and not even care about it.
When we go out at night, whatever we spend, 50,000, 100,000 in the motherfucking club, we can afford to do it because we ain't bring it all with us. A lot of niggas don't like to spend their money. We love to spend our money. We can't take none of this shit with us. No, ain't no armored trucks pulling up at no funerals.
The best relationship and partnership in federal drug law enforcement are a group of DEA agents married up with a group of IRS agents. It's a whole nother expertise and full-time job to exploit and uncover the layers of laundered money and items purchased.
Bro, I was live streaming on TikTok right now and I just got striked for dangerous. What?
Secretly by nominees.
Typically, these people aren't going to have anything in their name, which was the case with the Flannery brothers. Absolutely nothing. They don't file tax returns. No assets. So what you have to do is start looking at family members. The house that Terry Flannery had in L.A., his girlfriend, Tanisa Welsh, it's in her name. He sets up a company for her out there called Oracle Motorsports. Really doesn't do anything, but he's got all these high-end cars in there, which are his cars, which he's got auto brokers out there that he's feeding money to, buying his cars, keeping them in their names.
For years, IRS agent Scartozzi traced the money back to Meech and Terry, continually uncovering more and more people who helped the two brothers to hide and launder their money.
Terry had a girlfriend here in Detroit. He had a house for her in Canton. Started looking at how this young lady buy this house. Show she put, $100 and some thousand down. Well, how she put that, where'd that money come from? Cashier's checks that came out of a credit union. Where'd the money come from to fund those? It's just a matter of, you just build and piece and piece.
One unsuspected accomplice to the two brothers was the famed jeweler to the stars, Jacob Arabov.
He essentially, of course, is a businessman and is in business to make money. And Demetrius and Terry Flannery had a lot of money to spend, and they liked spending it on, besides cars and homes, on nice jewelry. Very flamboyant jewelry. The one watch that Terry bought was encrusted with diamonds. It was valued at about $100,000, in fact. Jacob the jeweler extended a $1 million line of credit to the brothers.
To leave a voice message, press 1 or just wait for the tone.
White boy, SOS, you left me.
To leave a voice message, press 1 or just wait for the tone.
White boy, SOS, you left me in the jungle, man. It's the jungle out there, man.
If you are satisfied with your message, press 1. To listen to your message.
On October 28, 2005, the long-awaited federal indictment for Demetrius and Terry Flannery was unsealed. 25 BMF members were initially charged with a range of felonies, including money laundering, conspiracy to distribute cocaine, and for the brothers, running a continuing criminal enterprise.
We had overwhelming information and evidence, and it just kept growing exponentially. In fact, the problem for us really became not was there enough evidence, it became keeping the evidence organized, trying to determine what evidence to use and what not to use. We had so much.
The DEA's case was based on wire.
See, but we can't find that Tammy girl. Like, when did she join the organization? Yeah, that's what Wagwan Hunter said. That's what we're trying to find out. That's why we're watching the documentary, Jay. Because we want to see, because I heard he was third-party snitching.
Have evidence, both on Terry's and Meech's side of the organization. The IRS.
But we're trying to find out where the Tammy girl comes in all this, you know, because he signed his life rights away to her, and that's why he can't do nothing about 50 Cent.
It compiled a massive amount of evidence demonstrating that the two brothers had been hiding and laundering huge sums of money, proceeds from illegal drug operations. Together, the DEA and the IRS had coordinated local police departments from all around the country and amassed enough evidence to demonstrate the extraordinary reach of the Black Mafia family.
On initiating the investigation.
Oh wait, are you for real? She dated Blue Da Vinci? What? I didn't know that. Bro, you got all the information, bro.
Frank and myself and other agents went to great pains to try to identify random law enforcement contacts with members of the BMF. And in fact, we were able to identify approximately...
So what do you think she fell off with? Because supposedly the story I know is that in 2017, Meech made a deal with her to third-party snitch on some other guy, right? And then he signed his life rights away to her as payment. But she messed up the deal. I'm gonna do calling later. I have to go after when this documentary ends. I have to go to a party, but I'll be back tonight though. Yeah. Jay, I'm gonna come back on live later on after I gotta go to an event right now. But we're gonna dive into this. But definitely add my Discord, GMB Pod on Discord.
Approximately more than 500 kilograms worth of seizures from random law enforcement activity and several $1 million worth of money seizures.
We knew who the players were as far as when we know somebody got stopped. Okay, we know that.
I'll be back by I'm Central Time. I'll be back by like 10 p.m. Central Time, and we're gonna dive into this because that's why we're watching this documentary, because we were trying to see where the Tammy girl came in all this. But they said that there was a girl. Hey Jay, it may be trash, but you gave me a view, so shout out to you though. Shout out to you. Thanks for the engagement.
Associated with BMF. Now let's backtrack and find out exactly how he was tied in.
Analysis would be done of the phones they were carrying, and the address books would be looked at. And there would be a common theme in the names that were stored inside the cell phones. Investigation from there on the vehicles and the titles and the ownership often led to tying those vehicles and those individuals and those seizures back to the BMF.
On the lead up to the takedown, tensions were high. Years of hard work had gone into the investigation. They needed to catch Meech and Terry.
It was a concern that Terry and Demetrius...
Oh, let me write this down. The coffee, you said, right? Are we definitely gonna put that there? Coffee? I'm gonna research that coffee guy. But she set up coffee, right? Yeah, Jay, bro, it's the internet, man. I don't give a fuck.
Demetrius might get away. They had passports. They were worldly. They had traveled to Europe and elsewhere and had the means to disappear. And if they disappeared, my way of thinking is that the case was a failure. But marshals doing what they do well. They came up with some information about Demetrius' whereabouts. They actually arrested Demetrius in Frisco, Texas on October 20th. Terry was taken into custody in the St. Louis, Missouri area.
Wait, is Cuffy the one where he met in jail? Oh, St. Louis. Oh, all right. Man, I'm gonna deep dive into that later, definitely.
The day of October 26th. And
we're gonna find the truth out today.
Pretty short order. We had all 25.
Did you see that? I heard that Meech sent his lawyers to tell 50 to take down his Instagram stuff. Because if you go to 50's Instagram, he took out most of the posts. Look, most of the posts, like he has this one with his son, but where he was calling Meech a rat and all that, they're gone. Look at that. See, they're gone. Oh, okay. Yeah, the cease and desist.
5 of our defendants off the Detroit indictment in pocket.
Several of the 25 defendants immediately began to cooperate with the DEA, including one of Terry's most trusted managers.
Yeah, bro, definitely, bro. We're gonna get deep into it tonight. You bet.
Dishonor. That's all good when the money's flowing. But when the money dries up and there ain't nobody looking.
Bro, I had a lot of viewers on TikTok, but then somebody reported me and said that my life was dangerous. Even though we're watching a documentary.
Down for you, and then you yourself are looking at a pretty long sentence. The way I look at it, it's every man for himself.
We're just really trying to motivate niggas and let niggas, know that niggas is really out here getting it like this, man. It ain't hard to get. The shit ain't far away. All the niggas gotta do is get on a real serious grind, man, with a real group of niggas that ain't gonna fucking tell, nigga.
Another key defendant that turned was BMF CFO William Doc Marshall.
Bill Marshall, not unlike many other defendants in this investigation, began to cooperate, essentially looking for a way to reduce his future prison sentence. He really laid out a lot of the financial stuff of the BMF. He really filled in the holes as far as how the straw brothers worked. How they...
Yeah, this is the guy that was the CFO, right? The one that got snitching.
His information was very useful going forward, and we went from 25 defendants to where we ended up, which was the conviction of 66 defendants in Detroit alone.
With the help of Doc Marshall and other cooperating defendants, the DEA was able to effectively dismantle the Black Mafia family. All in all, 125 members, associates, and relatives were indicted and convicted. Out of the 125 members indicted, only 8 went to trial, just 2 days before their trial date.
Oh, everybody else cut, please? Oh, I didn't know that. What?
Meech and Terry both pled guilty without cooperation. They were sentenced to 30 years.
Oh, look, Meech was supposed to get out in 2031. Wow. He got off like 6 years before. What?
Both Demetrius and Terry Flannery.
And then he was gonna get up in 2017, right? With the Fed thing.
And almost all the rest of the members of the organization realized that the evidence was.
Wait, Terry's out too, right? I think Biden pardoned him, right? Didn't Biden pardon him right before he left presidency right now?
Absolutely overwhelming. So pleading after 30 years, I suppose, seemed a little bit better than life.
Jacob Barlow pleaded guilty to falsifying records and getting false statements part of it. Wow, even the jeweler got indicted. That's crazy. Provided information against Terry. Oh, this guy tricked on him. Pleaded guilty to cocaine trafficking, money laundering, sentenced to 87 months in federal prison. Cooperating against Southwest T, pleaded guilty. Money laundering charges, face up to 17 years in federal. Oh, this guy got life. Sentenced to 11 prison for well, he got 2 bodies. Yeah, he got life.
The financial judgment in the indictment. And
Terry and Meech's father sentenced to 18 months for using his son's elevator. Whoa, his dad got indicted and went to jail for a year and a half for renovating his house. That's crazy.
Flannery took responsibility for it. They pled to 30-year prison term. It was $270 million, and if
Benjamin Johnson, high-ranking Detroit manager and lifelong of the Flannery brothers, struck a deal with the Fed, sentenced to 4 to 8 years. Lifelong friend is he tricked on them. That friendship doesn't mean nothing, man. When you start seeing football numbers, man, it's over.
Conservatively convert those dollars into kilos. We're talking about the distribution of between 15 and 18,000 kilograms of cocaine.
Trigger sentenced to 5-year. Tanisa Welch. Where's that Tammy girl?
During the life of this conspiracy. And this one of the largest homegrown domestic distribution organizations in the history of our country.
I wish I could be there tonight, but God knows I wish I could be there tonight. But one day soon, I'll be there with God's blessing. I just want to thank everybody for coming. Hope they enjoyed it. Don't want to take up no more of your time. Just have a time in your life, and I'll see somebody in the morning.
Well, that's it. Shout out to this channel. Bitches blogging about rap. Shout out to them. Thank you for the documentary. Hey guys, that's pretty much right now. I gotta go to a party right now. I'll be back around 10 p.m. Central Time, and we're gonna get deep dive into this. Jay just put us on game right now. He told us about Cuffy from St. Louis, and he said we're gonna do a call-in because he says he knows a lot about this stuff, so we could put all the pieces together. And appreciate everybody rocking with me. It's been an hour and a half, and I'm gonna catch you guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the thing, And appreciate everybody sticking in as long with me watching this and reacting to this. And like I said, we're going to be back in about 4 hours, and we're going to deep dive into Cuffy and Tammy. We're going to see how they play out in all this. All right, guys, I'm going to catch you guys in a little bit. And be safe, and thank you again. Appreciate it.